there. I guess if you're watching this video, you've volunteered, or you're helping us volunteer to make a box for Love in a Box, or you've volunteered to help us wrap the boxes. In either case, thank you very much, and it's a great project. Now, this video is to show you how to wrap a box that looks like this, as opposed to a box that looks like this, okay, with a normal lid, a normal shoe box. These are the ones you often get your sports shoes from, okay, or different types of shoes. They have the lid attached. Now, they make a great box when it's finished. They're a little trickier to wrap. You cannot put the paper there, it just tears. So I'm going to show you now how we're going to do this, okay. Okay, now we're going to cut the paper that we need. So we open up our roll. This is a little tricky, so try and bear with me, because I do it fairly quickly and just more or less roughly. So what we're going to need is 2 lengths of the side, because we're going to go in and down again on the inside, okay? So let's just start off with, okay, so that's 1 length, second height, okay? And then this, we're only going to go up to here. We're going to wrap up to here. This has to be a separate piece, otherwise it won't work. Okay, so same thing over here. Same thing over here. So 1 height of the box and the second height of the box. Okay, that's how much paper we're going to need. So now I'm going to cut there. You can measure it if you like. I'm just doing it visually. You can do it on the bottom towards you, but we're not going to need that whole length. So that's done. All right.
And a pen.
So now we place the box like this to get the measurement, and then down. Okay, and here okay, we have to work on the other side. That's okay. So now what we need to do is I'm going to take the lid from another box, otherwise you just use a ruler. So now we're going to draw our squares on the sides. This will become clear. So it's like that. And like that. To do our squares. Sorry. Do your edges around your box so you don't lose your place. Like that, and like that, like that, and like that. So you see, there's the squares. So let's put our box back there. And now we're going to cut out that. We're going to cut out. We're going to draw right down to here. Okay. Same deal over here. And then like that. And be careful, because if you cut the wrong, we're going to end up with like a cross. Okay. Sorry, here and here. It'll become obvious when we cut it out how it goes. All right, we're going to cut again down the bottom here, but we can work that out later. So that is the edge where the lid is, so it's the back, okay, that way. You can work the other way around if you like. I'm just testing, yeah, that should be fine. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to cut the sides. So it's, remember, it'll be only the corners that get cut out, okay? It can be a little confusing, maybe, but it's just the corners we're cutting out. So I'm going to save these later because they're good for patch-up work or extras that we might need. So here we go. We're going to cut this like so, and then that cross down. to be super precise. So I'm saving all my offcuts because they could come in handy when we have to patch up. I mean, you know, it doesn't have to be so precise. If you're a little bit short on the inside, you can patch it up, and I'll show you how to do that too. So we're cutting always the outside corners. Okay. Right. And that's done. And we've got our marking, so we know where to reposition the box for gluing. Now, what I was going to say is that the way I wrap my box is I have wrapped it completely, you know. I haven't put it on the bottom, which we can do, which we will do. I'll show you how to finish that off. But I have completely wrapped the box because I just think it looks prettier when you open the lid to still see the Christmas paper. Otherwise you'll open the lid and you'll have a pretty box and it will look like that when you open it. It's up to you. It's up to you. If you have the time you want it. It's a bit fiddly, but it's doable, and even this section. Although this box is slightly different. So, okay, so let's get on with it. Now, I'll face it. This is the way the box should fit on, so you can see it better this way. I'll show you this way. Now, I think it's always easier to glue the bottom, so then it stays in place. Okay, so now I'm going to put the glue, that won't work, put the glue on the bottom of my box, and just remember where you had it. Technical problems. Okay, now be careful, not too much glue, because it does make it a little bit wrinkly, but it's not the end of the world. I don't think it's, my boxes, they can get a little wrinkly, so make sure you don't put too much glue, but enough to hold the paper down, of course. And it's more important really on the edges, a little bit in the middle, because what happens if you wet the paper too much, it goes a bit wrinkly, and I'll show you that in a minute. But basically spread the glue as much as you can, and making sure that you're working quickly, otherwise the glue, our glue, just use a clag, paper glue, something you can spread on. Perhaps even a bigger brush. That clag they use at school I think is the best. But this is what we found, and for our purposes, and it's held very well. It's just a little tricky to work with, so you need to be fast and really get it out. Okay, so offcuts over here. I'm going to put this down. Now remember, the short side is for this end. So I'm going to put my corners down nicely. Okay. Make sure they're nicely aligned, or you'll have problems with the edge. Now what I do is I then lift the box and just work it nicely with my hands out towards the edges to get rid of the bubbles. Oh, this one's not so bad. Much better than the last one we did. Now you can start to see the edges. You see? Just press it a little bit. Oh, this one's not so bad. Sometimes they're a bit more wrinkly, but it's not too bad. See, I don't know if you can see the wrinkles on that. Okay. But it's on the bottom of the box, that's not too bad. But they will start to bubble up. You can see now as it's, it looked better off than the other one, but it's about the same. That's the problem with the gluing paper on paper, but it's okay. Now, so I'm now going to do this edge, because this is the edge over here. Okay, the edge, this edge here. Now we can't go onto here because it just doesn't work. So what you need to do is when you've got that edge, you've got a little bit of extra paper. You need to get a pretty exact line. Okay, because that is going to pull on your box. If you try to glue it on this side, it's not going to work. It's going to, just not going to work once we've glued it on this edge. So what we're going to do now is we've folded that over like that, because that's the excess paper. Now just glue that back down on itself, so we have exactly the right so we have exactly the right length to the edge. Okay, it cannot go over, which we can do with the other type of box if you've watched the other video. Okay, so we're going to fold that back on itself so we have it exactly at where we need it. Okay, so you need to glue that down first. Then we're going to glue on the side of the box. Okay. Spreading, spreading, spreading. Should work like this so you can see. Alright, it's a glue. Main part is to cover the edges. A little bit more this way. Just work your glue out. It does dry fairly quickly, but okay, now I am going to up there, and you can see it comes right up to the edge now. Okay, good job. Happy with that. Now you can turn your box around and work
So
it
you
nicely.
fold your excess paper.
Yes, so you can mark it because you know you can see it. You just fold it over and you create the line and then you can just fold it in.
So it all
Remember?
depends on the separate person's
Yeah,
box.
so you fold it over where how far it goes and do your line, then fold it back into itself and then along here. Okay, so we'll just put a little bit more glue there. Alright, okay, so that's that. Now, then we will glue the sides. Okay, now to do the sides, you're going to have to open this lid, and what we're going to do is we're going to glue this up and down again. Okay, don't worry about if you've got these patches here. I'll show you how to work those out. Okay, the important thing is just to get your paper over. Okay, so same thing again. We're going to work our glue onto our box. If I can get the glue to come out. Right. Okay, I think it's time. Oh, here it comes. I need a little stand so it stays upside down. Right away. Okay, don't forget to put a little bit of glue on your edge. And down again, actually, but we can do this part first, just so you can follow what's going on. Like that. If you've got too much glue, it's going to bubble. And now, when you get to this edge, if you see that it's not quite sticking down so well, just give it a little tear. You can tear it inside and just fold it over. And here we go. We're now going to start from the bottom. From the bottom, working it up nicely. Okay, and now we've reached the top. Just don't worry about that little hole there. Okay, I didn't put glue on it myself. So I need to put a little bit of glue on the edge because it's quite a wide edge. Okay, and in fact, I'll just take advantage of gluing down the rest of it while I'm here. Now your box might have different ledges and different layers, and I wouldn't worry too much about that. Okay, I would now just put some glue. Can you see that? Put some glue. If you've got a little hole there like I have, just put some glue on it. Alright? I'll explain later. So again, on the edge, spread your glue. Okay. Now the beauty of working with these paper and boxes, you can, you know, if you muck up, you can just recover it. Okay, so if it tears, you can just patch up, which is what I'll show you. So now, I'm going to, see what I mean? Now, get that edge nicely first. Don't worry about that hole. We're going to fix that up later. So just work it nicely. Don't worry if you haven't reached the bottom. I can show you how to patch that up as well. Alright, so that's done there. Now, okay, so now we're going to do the other side exactly the same way as we did that side. this piece. Tricky. A little tricky. Okay, so what I'd like to do is just to start with the face, this side first. Okay, so let's just get some glue in there. So we'll just do this one step at a time because we'll need to cut, but now you can cut it out beforehand with the scissors. You can draw. Actually, we could have done it that way too. So you put it back on the side and then you draw the section you want to cut. Okay, and here we go. We're just going to go up the sides. Okay, we've got that funny hole there. Now, we could have cut it out this way, which is probably what we should have done. So, no, we're going to cover back down. So, on the inside, can you see that? We've got the little hole here. So we're now going to glue everything in here as well. Now what I'm going to do is glue this right down, and then we can patch up if we want on the bottom. So there, I've gone right into the box. Okay, now for this interesting little bit here, I could have actually glued the paper like that. What I did then I cut away the first bit, and then you can actually what I did was cut a little bit further away than where it needs to go. You can measure it out. I probably could have drawn that, stenciled it out on the box, but we need it to come down again, so it doesn't work too well, okay? Unless you want to be very precise. So I just take it, you see the edge is actually there. So you can see I've cut it just a little bit above the edge. And this bit here we have to cut down. So I cut it just a little bit above the edge. As I said, it's not super precise, but it works. So what I do is, even with the glue later, now what I would do is get some glue. Now this is where it's a little bit more. Now try and separate it, and I'll just put the glue on one of the side of the paper, okay, and stick it together. So it's a little bit over the edge, but just stick it together like that. Just work it with your fingers. Okay, so if you really don't like some of these edges, just snip it up. But leave it a little bit, because what we're going to do now is we're going to put a little bit of glue on the inside. Okay, and with our fingers, get a little bit gluey fingers, but it won't kill you. We're just going to push that back. If you can see what I'm doing there, can you see? And just push it back over the edge, and that will give us a fairly reasonable edge. Yeah? And you can just, because, okay, I've missed this bit up here. So the glue will soften your paper, and it makes it a little bit moldable, a bit like paper mache. So if it's very wet, just hold it there for a second. Take your finger away in time, otherwise you'll take the paper with you. So that is not too bad of an edge. Okay? Alright? because don't forget, we're not going to see that when it's closed. So, same thing goes for up here. Just cut a little bit around it, but leave yourself a bit of an edge. If it tears, don't worry, as mine has just done. It has torn a little bit, but that's because I pushed and pulled at it. Okay, so, again, don't be afraid to work the paper. So again, let's put a bit of glue there on the inside. Doesn't matter if it tears, you won't see it. And then put the paper together. Then take a little more glue. So you know you can. I know it's a little rough, but that way everybody will be able to make these boxes. And I mean, unless you're an art teacher or a mathematician, want to be super precise. I'm just giving you a very quick way to get it done. There we are. Now I'm working that just very gently with my fingers like a paper mache. Right. Okay, if it tears, it's not so bad. It's not the end of the world. But the best thing is to glue it first. So what I'm trying to say is you can see the shape underneath there. Come in and give it about 1/2 centimetre away. It doesn't matter if you get a bit extra, because you know that we're going to work it in. So, okay, see what I've done there? Right. So now, we will tear on the edge because you just can't unless you cut it across there a little bit. But even so, it will tear. So let's glue those together, edges. Excuse me. Okay, glue those edges. Let's glue that together, and then we glue the inside layer, and then slowly work it in. Okay, it may tear a little bit, but you'll get most of it looking reasonable. I think once I see the candy and the presents, then, you know, they won't focus on that too much. And most of it's pretty. You can patch it up if you really want to. You can always put a little bit of paper there. You can always put a little bit of extra paper here if you really want to patch it. You see? Like that. But somewhere along the line it will tear. Okay, now, okay, what we're going to do is finish the inside of the box, so it'll make it a lot easier when it comes time to doing the lid. Okay? Right. So I like to have my box completely done. Now we're going to have to come up to the edge, same way we did the back before. So we're going to do this inside of the box. So there's my piece, it's an offcut. So I am, oh, that's not going to work. Should take something a bit longer. Oh, well, I can probably finish it. Okay. Then I'm going to patch up. So I'll show you what happens when you haven't had enough paper to go around. So let's do that nice edge that we did before. I'm going to now get that edge, so we fold it across here. You see that? Fold it up so we know exactly where we have to cut it. And same goes for the edge there. It's a bit wider, so I'm going to cut that as well. I'm going to cut the edge where I folded it so that it fits snugly inside the box here. So but this edge I'm going to cut because that's too much paper. It'll just buckle up. Okay. Now, but this edge is the one we're going to glue down. It's the edge that comes up, to here. So let's get that glue. again, you see? That piece that I tried to patch up with one of my patch up pieces was actually not quite enough, but it's not such a bad thing because then we can put one big piece of paper down there with another patch up. I'm just going to fold this down, just glue it down because I didn't put glue right across. Okay, gluing, gluing, gluing. Okay, right, so you know, I like to have my box completely, as I said, completely wrapped, and you can see that I've got a little patch in there. Okay, now I can either do a big piece along the bottom or I can just put a third piece along. So I've got a nice big piece here, so I'm just basically going to glue that in. It's a lot easier than for me to cut another piece, but it's up to you to do what you want. Okay, and this is where you can use all the offcuts and they don't go to waste, basically. So I am now going to spread some glue, which is my favourite job at the moment, seems to be. And I'm going all the way around, all across, sparsely, but it's important to get the corners because that's where the paper will come unstuck. Okay, so try to put in a little bit extra. And make sure you cover it, okay? Because it does dry fairly quickly. All right, now this goes down. We get the whole Father Christmas in there, which is nice. Now, there we go, all done. And I'll have to patch up the side as well because I'd like to. Now my paper's a bit long on the sides. Well, you see, it's a bit longer, so all I do is I'll just add a bit of glue and I'll tuck it in and you just wouldn't know that that's happened. Even the Father Christmases are meeting. Look at that. Okay, just work with your hands. It's just a little bit of glue. Okay, and there is most of our box. Okay, now there's an area down there I'd like to patch up just because I'd like to do that. So again, look what I have. This offcut will just work beautifully in there. Why not? This one probably better. Okay, so I'm just going to do that. Okay, I put the fold where it goes. I'm actually going to have it go right over because that way it won't come undone as easily. Okay, so I'm just going to put some glue on that bit of paper. It's not perfect. I have done better, but it will do. It allows us to. The box, I think it's better to patch it rather than leave it. Even though it looks like we've got an extra bit of paper in there, I just think it looks more like a wrapped box. Okay, so I'm just decided to glue this just because it's easier. Right, okay, so try to put the Father Christmas the same way as the others, although is it upside down? Yeah, it's like that. Okay, and that's as long as it's nicely down to the bottom, we're in business. So there we go. See, even if it's patched, it's not too bad. Don't go too closely. This is not as well as the other side, but you know, I'm just going along with it and showing you what will probably happen to you guys and not to worry about it. So it's not one of those demonstrations that's super perfect and never works out the way you do it. So you know, with a bit of the glue, the paper will stick down again, it's fine. Okay, there. And that way we have a nicely wrapped, completely wrapped box. Okay, now we go back to cutting. We're going to do the lid. Okay, so this is tricky. We're going to go back to our paper now. Okay. Now we're going to paper, cut.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so now we're going to do the top of the lid. Now ideally what we'd like to do is to have the paper come from here, coming down and around, inside and finish here. So let's see if we can do that, right? So we're going to, I've got my roll of paper, I've already cut it down a little bit. So what we're going to do is, I'll turn it around so you can see, which makes it difficult. We're going to want to have, okay, so that's the edge, but we want to fold it a little bit. So I'm going to turn the box around for a moment so you can see what I'm doing sideways. So I'm going to do this. Okay, so just, okay, so I just take a measurement like that. So I want that measurement, then I want the lid, and then I want the other side of the lid. So I'm going to put a mark here where I've finished, and I'm going to measure another lid and bit, because we're going to fold it under. So then I'm going to put a mark, so the lid finishes here, I'm going to put a mark about here. Okay, so about here. Right, now I'm going to, start this in this up. So now I'm going to cut this, there we are. I'm going to cut that. Let's see if this works, guys. Now, did I do the right thing? Yes. Okay, now we're going to want the sides. I suggest we go right into the middle of the paper. All right. So, that's my dog. Come up and say hello, dog. Okay, good done. His name is Phoenix. Right, let's get back to work. So, let's take our measurement, same way we did before. We're going to, we don't need that there, we're going to need that there. So we're going to position our box so we can cut out our corners, right? We don't, if you do that, run it along the edge, you won't need the corners on this side. So we're going to do corners here, and at the edge of the box is over here. But actually we need a little bit extra because we're going to fold it on this edge. So let's do it. It's in the middle. So we're going to do the corners and the corners. So what does that mean? That means we're going to now cut, remember, our corners. So we're going to do that. It's just like doing the bigger box, but with just the top. And that. And then we've got the bottom. And I hope this is not too confusing for you all. So we don't have to cut off the other squares because we've already done this. Okay, we just want to do the top. So let's cut out these squares. And again, this is like a T. It's not a cross, it'll be a T. Okay, so we'll cut this. Like so. Don't forget to leave that little edge extra on here, okay? So we have to fold it over. That will create our lovely neat edge at the end of the lid. Okay, like that. Alright, if this doesn't make sense, we'll just have to film it again. Cool. Alright, now, ready to make our Okay, so this is a little confusing. So we've got this T shape here. So what we're going to do is now we put our box back on this corner. Don't worry about the other side, okay? So on this shape here. Okay, now, okay, so that's basically what to do. So what we're going to do, remember our edge. We have to do another edge over here. So what I suggest you do is you make a line. You can draw it. You can draw it if you like. Okay, there's our edge of our box. Alright, so we've made this line here. what we need to do, remember, is to glue it. So we don't have to have, we don't need that edge up there. So what we can do, we're going to have a small square. We do get a square, but it's a much smaller one. Okay, so we do that, like that. I hope this is right, guys, or I'm just going to have to do it again. And like that. So there's our corners on this side, so it's a little bit different. Okay, now, so we're going to cut, these are the other corners like we did with the bottom. Now we're going to fold this edge down. Let's fold it first, it'll make it easier to. So fold this little edge down, okay, that we drew. Put some glue down because this is our edge. Okay, so we're going to fold paper to paper here to create our nice edge. Okay. Okay, so that gets folded like that. Right, now that edge goes here, alrighty? So now we are going to glue the bottom that way, okay? That'll be a lot easier to do. So we're going to put the glue on our lid. Right, so I've got the glue. Now remember, we've taken our edge. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this edge here, top, back, we're going to put it down on this edge here, like that. Alright, so that's, now I'm going to pick up the box and I'm going to work it. And there's the top of our box. That's the hardest bit now. Okay, so now we've got this large piece that will go right across. So I suggest we do the sides first. Okay, so I don't know what shape they are, even if they're a bit rounded on the edges, don't worry about it too much. It's like that other little separate hole we did here, we're going to do the same thing. All right, so now we're going to glue down our sides. Edge, we glued it together, we glued the back, so you've got this little edge, and again just work it with your fingers. Alright, okay, likewise over here. If you've got a little bit of an edge there, I suggest you fold it over so that it tucks in neatly underneath the next sheet that we're going to bring right over the top. Okay, so we've done this side, let's do the other side. now we come to this bit and we do some more gluing. Don't look too closely. You've got a bad angle there. Okay, so here, we get to here, you can either cut that or glue it, but I dare say it won't stay because it's that terrible edge that we're battling with all the time. I would fold it this way. Try. I would just fold it over. There. Fold it together. Glue it together.
Your hands will get a bit dirty, but
Yes, sorry about that.
definitely worth it.
It's just because I'm working with the glue and being a little bit, you know, as it goes. So that, you know, it's a bit like working with paper mache. If you have this edge with a little bit of give, it'll be fine. Okay, the paper will stick to itself. And there we have our box. And it will move. If that edge bothers you, then just cut it. If it doesn't stick down, just cut it.
It's a
Could be a bit-
Christmas miracle.
It could be. I think you should leave it open to dry, and then all we have to do is fill it. So there we go. Something I've forgotten? No, all done. Have fun and thank you.